Tim, thank you very much for joining me. How are you today?
I am well. Thanks for having me, Maria. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
That's really kind of you. So, Tim, I'm nosy, and I know that my audience is nosy. We love to understand what goes on under the hood, as we say here, under the hood of the car, what happens in the motor. Talk to me about your speaking business. What does it consist of?
Well, I mean, I'm primarily a corporate keynoter. That is my bread and butter. That is my main source of income. That is my where I sort of spend my time. And yes, I have the books, and anybody who's written books and published books knows that it is possible to earn a healthy living from the royalty checks, but it's just not something that I'm able to do. So the books are supplementary. The books are tools that I use for sure to boost the speaking business. But I'll tell you, between that and then working with speakers to help build their businesses and running getspeakinggigs.com and hosting the summit and all those other pieces of the puzzle, those are those fill in the gaps for me. Helping other speakers to break into this corporate space helps to fill in the gaps time-wise.
So, Tim, I have no idea how you have any gaps because you've got children. So you've got your speaking business, you work with speakers too, and you've done 300 dates in a year, which is like 25 a month. So first of all, how did you manage to achieve that level of business? And secondly, where are the gaps?
Yeah. So, I mean, the 300 dates a year was as a magician, and it's a little bit of a different business model. So there's far less airline travel. There's a lot of sort of local gigs that you're driving to and fro. I could pack in 5 on a Saturday, so there's definitely a lot of logistics to think about for sure. And managing systems is sort of a big secret, a big piece of it. And I'll talk more about that later, I think. But that's where it came from. And I'll tell you, the idea of 300 dates a year with a family is really what led me from magic to speaking. I realized, hey, I only need 30 to make like 3 times as much, and I can work 10 times less often. So it was really a big work less, earn more, live more, be more present, have more freedom, have more gaps, have more flexibility, to be able to pour into the other areas of life that are also important, family, kids, all of those. So that was sort of an impetus. That was a catalyst. That was a push into the world of speaking for me, as opposed to the world of entertainment. And I'll tell you, boy, I learned a lot. I learned a lot trying to make that transition.
Well, yes, and actually I'm interested in that, but it's of course, if you're speaking virtually, you could still potentially do 300 speaking gigs, couldn't you? But let's leave that on the side. Talk to me about that transition, because there are so many people who do want to transition from entertainment to speaking, although speaking in itself needs to be entertaining as well. How did you transition from magician to speaker? How did you find your topic? How did you find your new clients?
Yes. So the thought that I could just delete the word magician from my website, type in the word speaker, was a very real thought. I actually thought that I could take my old systems, and I had direct mail campaigns, and I had email and website, and I had all sorts of marketing funnels, systems, outlets, whatever you want to call them. And they just did not work in the same way. Magic was much more transactional. Speaking is much more relational. So that was one of that was probably the big difference is the relationship building. And you had asked about setting a topic. Again, you can't just go in and entertain. Yes, you do want to be entertaining. And that is a big advantage that I had as a magician, as an entertainer, that I could engage an audience and the skill set to do that. Speaking is performance art. No questions asked, hands down. In my mind, that's how I view it. And it is a benefit to the audiences that they're actually being engaged and entertained. How I identified my topic, I had no skills. I had dropped out of college to become a magician. I had no degrees. I had no work experience other than driving around my car with my suitcase full of tricks in the back. And, I had the exact same questions and concerns. Who's going to listen to me? What am I going to say to these people? What do I know that can help them and that can serve them? And it really was a process of trial and error. It was a process of follow my passions, my interests, what I'm excited about. And over the years and working with clients now, because again, dozens, if not hundreds of magicians specifically have come to me and said, Tim, so hang on. How are you doing this? How are you making 5 figures a gig? Like, that is unheard of in the magic world, right? So they want to know how to do this, and I've sort of helped them in this process and developed processes for finding those key areas and developed systems and really to streamline that and to hone that down, because that is the question, Maria. That is make or break stuff. What is it? What is the conversation that you want to enter? And what do you want to say about that conversation? What do you want to add to that conversation? So, this is what you're selling. This is a make or break decision. And, again, I said it was trial and error. And when I say make or break, doesn't mean you don't get 2 shots at it, 3 shots at it, 4 shots at it. But without a great topic, you're dead in the water.
Absolutely. And not only that, but without the market that wants to pay you for that topic as well, isn't it?
That's part of a great topic for sure. Yes.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you that the relationship when you're speaking needs to be a relationship and not a transaction. And I think I see a lot of mistakes where people try to automate the relationship building sometimes. And you've just got to get on the phone and talk to someone. If someone inquires about you speaking, you've got to build that relationship. So I'm so glad you've said that. It's vital is people to people, isn't it? It really is important.
It's just such a high trust transaction. Again, compared to magic, where yes, it's a novelty act. Yes, every magician will tell you that they're an artiste and that their act is different. But, in the minds of the buying public, they can swap out one magician for another, with exceptions, but with speakers, it's, we're putting our reputation, on the line. We don't know what you're going to say when you're on stage. We're allowing you to speak for us. We are allowing you to, to get in front of our people. It's just, we care about our people so much. They are our family, work families. So the high trust piece of the transaction is next level compared to magician or a lot of other sales situations. So yeah, find ways to develop those trust. I don't have just a to-do list. I have a to-who list, and I recommend. I recommend people doing that in any industry, for sure. Developing and deepening those relationships. I mean, that's my speaking topic, right? That's my speaking topic of human connections and creating those and deepening those.
I think actually magicians have a bit of an advantage because you understand psychology, because you need to, divert people and make them look at something else. And they need to trust you and you need to engage. So yeah, I think you've got a lot of advantages there. And I think entertainers have great advantage because they have great stage presence. You have to have great stage presence. So there's lots of things that you've got, and then obviously you had to learn. What was the hardest?
Maria, I want to add to this. Think about this. It is a skill, and it's a learnable skill, right? For sure. and the skill can be learned through iteration. It's learned by doing. And Tony Robbins taught me this. I taught a lot of people this. The idea of if most speakers do 50 dates a year, and that's considered a busy year, he's like, if I do 500, that's 10 years of experience in 1 year. So doing 300 dates a year is years worth of stage presence experience, as a magician. So get those reps, get that flight time, develop. It is a learnable skill. Because I was a magician doesn't mean I lucked into having this skill. I lucked into a lot for sure. And I'm very blessed to have that successful magic business. But yeah, it's just get out there, get that flight time, get that stage time, wherever, however, and grow that muscle.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours, doesn't he? And you've done way more than 10,000 hours. We'll work it out separately, do the maths. So let's talk fees, because you've gone from the magician's fee, and there are some magicians that do charge very high fees. The big celebrity magicians, of course, do, and we've booked a few of those in the past, and I know they have very high fees.
Yeah.
But generally, you're right, the fees are lower for a magician than they are for a keynote. How did you, first of all, psychologically move from the lower fee to the higher fee? And secondly, how did you set your fee?
Whew. Yes, I do love this conversation. Speaking fees, and setting fees and getting fees and positioning. The game of setting your fee happens long before the number tumbles out of your mouth, right? The game of setting your fee is a positioning battle. It is, if you want to consider it a chess match, if you want to consider it, setting yourself up to be able to say a number with a straight face. Now, that comes from understanding your worth in that space. So I understood my worth in the space of the magic world and the magician world, right? And 300 dates a year, a lot of those are like little kids' birthday parties, elementary school assembly programs, right? These are, I remember one month I did 48 in a month, right? 48 little kids' birthday parties in a month. Amazing birth control. Let me just say that, like, just incredible. So the idea of context, and it's not what you think you earn, or that's part of it. That's the inner battle, but it's also what they need to spend in order to feel like they're getting the value. And there are people out there who are going to buy fancy $300,000 automobile. That's not me. I'm not a car guy. There are people out there who are going to buy very inexpensive cars, and I'm careful not to offend anybody here with specific brands, but you see, there are different contexts and different mindsets and different people who will pay different things. So you consider that, and here's how I set my fee. I worked out that the word fee stands for, and I'll be polite here, it's the number that's required for me to forget everyone else. Forget everyone else for that day, that time. That's a big number, right? That's a big number for me to forget my family, go away from my family. That's a big number for me to set aside all my other clients. That's a big number for me to prepare that. I'm forgetting everything else. And again, this is a big part of the inner game. What do you value? How do you value yourself, your time? And understanding that value is important. So all of that said, you price yourself fairly. You find out not what you think you're worth, but what the market thinks you're worth. You align yourself, and you have, I have different goals than maybe some speakers getting started might have, who want that flight time, who want that exposure, because I do believe this wholeheartedly. There are other ways to get paid besides money. Many other ways to get paid besides money. And I have this conversation with my clients, and we talk about non-monetary reimbursement, and they go into contracts, and we itemize and articulate, this is why, I'm getting this particular discount for this particular non-monetary compensation. So that's why I have fee integrity. That's why every single client can talk to each other, and they can compare notes, and I can come back and say, well, you're in California, you're in Ohio, you're in Australia. That's number one. Number two, the date of the year matters. June, July, August, slow times for me, right? Slow times in the speaking industry. September, October, February, January, February. No, that's going to be a different fee, right? So it's not a simple answer of name this number. It's definitely a lot of those factors being put together. But the big takeaway, I think, for your listeners, in the context of a podcast, right? In the context of a podcast, what's the number to forget everyone else, right? And I'll extend them to options. I'll often extend 2-3 different package options to cast a bit of a wider net and give them some autonomy and some feeling like they're in control of the fee a little bit. So that's on fees. I do a lot of stuff besides just the keynote. I add a lot of value. Step one, add value. Step two, know the value that you're adding. Step three, let that number fall out of your face with confidence because you earned it.
Fantastic. And just to make a note that the busy times you've quoted there are the busy times for the US, and in different markets it's different. So it's not across the board. So for us in the UK and in Europe, June can be quite busy. January is usually quieter for business meetings. Our busiest month often is November, whereas you guys are having Thanksgiving, of course. So every market is different. But for the US market, that's wonderful intelligence. Thank you for sharing that, because everybody wants to speak in the US, let's be honest, right?
I certainly do. It's close to home.
It's close to home. And actually, have you, with regards to, I'm sort of going back a little bit, but transitioning from magic to speaking, obviously you had to have a new mindset with regards to your fees, and you had to have a different mindset because your magic was very close by to you before. That's why you could do 300 gigs. Suddenly now you're traveling, you were talking about Australia, whatever. The fee is going to get you to do that because it's got to, it's got to be high enough. But what have been the challenges for you in having to really change the way you work, in that now suddenly you can do a gig and you could be away for 4 days for one gig? How has that affected your home life, your work?
There were moments and components of the magic world where, I was a road warrior. And sometimes, again, it's airplanes, sometimes it's trains, sometimes it's getting in the car and gone for 3-4 weeks, just going up and down the coast on a little mini tour. So I had some of those experiences. Some of the challenges also became opportunities. I have great people that, it's not my skill set. Logistics, planning, booking airplanes, getting the best deals and discounts for clients. That's not my skill set. So I have great people who allow me to focus on what I do, and I have the systems in place and just the practice and the experience of how do I make sure I stay fit on the road? How do I make sure I eat right, exercise? How do I make sure I continue to pour in to my brain, right? And my learning doesn't slow or stop. How do I make sure I'm continuing to serve existing clients, keeping the pipeline full, generating ideas, all of the things we need to do, you need to be able to do on the road. And the good news is I'm on the road 1/10 of the time that I used to be. So to me, it's like, whew, this is a piece of cake.
Fantastic. Well, you've done all the groundwork. You've set up your systems. You've created your topic, your value, etc. So once that is done, it's a piece of cake. You have to do all that work first. But tell me, you mentioned. Sorry.
I'm glad you said the word systems. That is huge. Anything that you do and will do again must have a system. I don't mean technology. I just mean a way of doing things that is decided in advance. Huge, so important. That is 100,000% how I've been able to manage and maintain gaps in my. You asked me where the gaps were. The fact that there are gaps is part of the joy of of this being in this business and creating this business that fits your life. So yeah, systems.
Listen, you're speaking to the converted here, because I started my early in my career, I was a management consultant, and we were all about systems and process, and it was about getting people to work in certain ways. It cuts down your decision making, absolutely, which you said. It cuts errors out, because if you don't have a system, you're going to make errors. You're going to have, and you're going to you lose time as well. So I'm a huge fan of systems.
I want to share with you, Maria, and your audience, my newest system.
Oh yes, yes.
And it's something. This does involve technology. I did have to sort of create some code and do some things like that. But the gig comes in. Let's just sort of say the gig is booked. So I have this piece of technology. I can go in and type in the date of the gig, what the city is, and a few other bits of information. And then into my Google Calendar, populates my 42 action items that I need to do for that gig. And these action items are to make sure that that gig is a success. So I got to do a prep call. There's a whole number of different things that I have to do for that client, but there's also a whole bunch of stuff that I get to do because every gig is a showcase. Every speech is a showcase. I get to, use those 42 action items to turn that gig into more gigs, into gigs at the next level. This is why I'm excited still today to entertain the idea of doing free speeches, because a speech spirals and snowballs because I'm very intentional about doing 42 different action items to make sure that that gig becomes another gig, a higher paid gig, the next level, the next introduction, the next piece of marketing collateral that will make me look like the next fee tier. All of those pieces of the puzzle. It's pretty exciting. And as you said, what sparked this for me is, you said you've got to be able to do these things so that you don't forget them, so that you don't miss them, so that they're done. And being able to populate this and have every day, I know these are the action items I got to do today, because that's 2 weeks in advance for this gig. That's 2 months in advance for that gig. And so I'm pretty excited about that, and certainly highly, highly recommend that people develop ideas and strategies for turning gigs into gigs, first of all, and then systematizing those so that they happen every single time, every single gig.
I love that. So basically what happens is you populate the gig, and then it goes backwards in the diary to say, this is what you need to do then, and then, and then, and this, and so every day, exactly what you're doing and you keep on top of it. That's
and
clever.
there are future follow-up as well.
Of
course. So it's not all, there are some in the future as well. And there is a half year follow-up with the client. There's an annual follow-up. There's some cool little things that we do for them. I have a picture of me holding a birthday cake, and it's cut in half. And I say it's our half birthday, halfway through the year, little tiny touch points. And again, of course, there's other components tied into that communication. But yeah, it is fun deepening relationships. It is fun getting to know people. It is fun serving people with your topic and your message on a deeper level, and going deep with people. It really does make this fulfilling. And I think I kind of use those words interchangeably, fun and fulfilling. Like, it is fun to be fulfilled in your work, for sure. And it's also fun to not be overwhelmed and not be bogged down, and be able to have 3 kids and a life outside of speaking as well.
Fantastic. And we can see from your energy, if anybody watching on the video, and can hear it in your voice, anybody listening on the podcast, how excited you are. Okay, I need to know, Tim, where do your gigs come from? You say a gig comes in and then you populate, etc. Where are they coming from? How are you getting them? We all want to know.
So the unfortunate answer for people starting out, the bad news, is that the vast majority of gigs in the industry are booked by, I've seen you speak, I know someone who's seen you speak. The gigs come from gigs. Gigs beget gigs. And first and foremost, you've got to have a great speech. My speech is my #1 marketing tool, hands down. There are a lot of components in my speech that are designed for the next gig and the next gig and the next introduction, and getting them onto an email list and following up with an email system. So the majority comes from that system that I described, that 42 action item. Every time, one of these, they're in there for a reason, right? And I'm A/B testing these action items, and I'm making sure that they're working and that it's not annoying to people, and all of those components. But that's sort of the secret sauce. Yes, I have, again, a great agent, but let me give you an example. My most recent gig. So I did a gig a couple of days ago, and it came from another speaker referral, right? Another speaker referral. So he needed a local speaker. He thought I was local. It was a same town, different state. So I did still have to hop an airplane, but he thought I was a local speaker. And just, having a digital footprint, comes from, again, the system allows me to have a lot of digital assets and digital components, doing the blogging and the videoing and all that stuff. So diversify your portfolio, get the gigs coming from all of the channels massive action is the cure for failure, and having a diversified portfolio so that not all of your eggs are in one basket. Hey, when COVID hit, guess what? I wasn't on stages anymore. My calendar had been wiped clean. So now suddenly that big snowball that's rolling down this hill and those 42 action items for all these gigs, gone. So what do you use to fill in those gaps? So that question for me, how do you get gigs? Oh my gosh, getspeakinggigs.com is how I love that question, right? I adore marketing strategy. Even as a magician, right? I almost enjoyed the marketing and the business and putting the business hat on more than standing on the stage and doing the gigs. And so that is a passion of mine. And they say you've got to be passionate about your topic as a speaker. I would add to that, and many people have added to that, you've got to be passionate about the business of speaking. So they come from a variety of sources for sure, but the number one marketing asset for me is that clear message. Because here's what happened when that person found me online. My message was clear. He knew exactly what I spoke about. He was then able to turn around to another client, to another person, and make a referral. And my message is clear enough that it survives the telephone game. Oh. Your message has to be clear enough, not just, and I think Chinese whispers, is it over?
Yeah, we call it Chinese whispers. You call it the telephone game.
The telephone game, yes. So, excuse me. Think about this. We all know clarity, especially in the age of information and technology and just information overload. We don't get paid to teach people new information. I mean, stop. If you think you're a teacher, my gosh, that is not your job description as a speaker, or at least you're not going to get paid high fees as a keynote speaker. Part of the job is coalescing, condensing, and turning ideas into action. You're paid for the results that your ideas bring. So if the idea is not clear enough to stick and create action, which creates results, which creates the profits or whatever that is that they want, you're out of a job. That is, your job description is to make the audience different when they leave than when they walked in, right? You're paid to create change. So, I mean, my goodness, you've got to know and have such clarity that you can communicate that to an audience. And, oh my gosh, here's a challenge. We sell something that to someone who hasn't seen us before, they don't know what it is. By very nature of it, we have this whole speech that it conveys information and ideas, and they don't know what those ideas are. So we have to talk about, you have to be able to speak about what you speak about. You have to be able to speak about what you speak about to the degree where people get it. They know that they need it. They know that they want it, and they understand it immediately. And here's the catch. They've got to be able to turn around 6 weeks later when it comes up in their mind for the opportunity to refer you. They've got to be able to turn around and say, oh, Tim David, he's that human connection guy. Here's his message. Bing, bang, boom. CB speak. Bang, bang, boom. This is the level of clarity that we need. So that's one of the areas I work with speakers over and over and over again, and just pound that home. And I know, Maria, you're a big proponent of that as well. That's how you stand out. Right? That's how you stand out, is just be freaking clear on what it is you speak about and be able to speak about what you speak about. Have internal clarity, external clarity, and then telephone game / Chinese whispers quality clarity. And then you're in the game.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. I call it the narrative, but it's exactly the same thing. And I keep saying to speakers, simplify. The bigger the words. And in fact, be able to explain it to a child. If you can explain it to a child, I'll remember it. If you start sticking big words in there, start making complex, really long sentences, I'm not going to remember it. So I love that. Totally agree with you. So listen, I've taken a lot, your time has flown. I've taken a lot of your time. I'd love to know what you're working on now, and maybe what's next for you, and what you're excited about.
I'm really excited about this little side hustle called getspeakinggigs.com that has blown up and become a 6-figure business on its own. And I'm really excited about pouring into other speakers, because here's what I found, and here's what I've noticed over the last, 8-9 years of doing this, is that I can go and I can be a speaker and I can write books and I can have this ripple effect. but I can also empower and encourage people. And the people that I meet, Maria, I know the people you meet, amazing human beings, incredible stories, heartfelt life experiences, powerful messages. If I can get those people on more stages, if I can help people, that's what's exciting. You know, that's like the exponential ripple effect of helping speakers go out into the world and share their message on a bigger level with bigger audiences, bigger checks, bigger opportunities, bigger stages. All of those things are fun and exciting and important. But man, it's that time when they come up to you afterwards and they say, what you said hit me, you know, and they have emotion in their face, and then they send you an email 2 years later and they tell you the story of what happened in their home life, and holy hell, like that, to me, how does that not excite you, right? How does that not excite you? So for me, you know, working on systems for speakers and helping to take that weight off of their I almost said weight off of their plate for a second, but
Actually
you know,
works.
take
I
some of the
like
load
that.
off.
I
Yeah,
quite like that
take
because
the
it
weight off the
rhymes and
plate.
you
I don't know
remember
why
it.
they were putting weights on our plates, but hey,
Well,
it
yeah.
rhymes. So
Fantastic.
I mean, yeah, that's my joy and my excitement now is I'm seeing people and speakers blossom and bloom and just have their businesses grow in ways that they hadn't thought, and that means their impact is growing as well. So very
Fantastic.
exciting.
You and me both. We're on the same page with that because we both get excited by that. So I'm thrilled. So two partners in crime. Tim, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
And again, I hope I'm glad it has come across, my energy and my excitement. And you know, hey, speakers, we need that too, right? It's a transfer of emotion. It's a transfer of energy when we want to inspire people. So it starts with us for sure.
It absolutely does. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Speaking Business Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave us a nice rating. And actually, more importantly, tell your friends and share it. I will see you all next time. Thank you.